Well, welcome to the Orange County Historical Society and the dedication of our two Virginia highway markers that honor the Madison-Barbour Rural Historic District. I won't go into a lot of detail because we have Mr. Speeden, who brought this project to us at the Historical Society, who will tell you a little bit about the genesis. But he did come to us, he's on the board, of course, and he said, I have an idea. And it was to commemorate, designate our massive rural historic district, which comprises the greater part of western Orange County, and yet very few people know it exists. So we thought this is a wonderful idea, and we proceeded through the process, which is a little bit challenging, but well worth it, and we came out with excellent signs in the end. And we have an interesting lineup of speakers, and we're going to kick off with Kat Imhoff, who is president and CEO of the Montpelier Foundation. And the connection there is that the sign at Montpelier is there because the Montpelier Foundation and Kat very kindly agreed to let us put the sign on their property. Yes, and it's a very convenient place. It's near the post office, the train depot, so there's lots of good parking.
I am so pleased to be here, and this
Thank
is,
you.
as you're going to hear, a project really near and dear to my heart. Of course, Madison, so really excited to be part of the Madison-Barbour Rural Historic District. And we are so, people always, of course, know about the house, right, and the Madison story, but we are so also interested in the landscape and what the landscape tells us about not just sort of the famous people, but everybody's day-to-day life. To kind of reach back in time a little bit, and I've got to do a shout out to Ann Miller here, who was involved in these early days, and also Bill Speeden. But my work and interest in rural historic districts began in 1986. And at that time, we started imagining, how do you make people understand their local history? But, people so often don't really understand what that little indentation in the landscape is, that old road trace. They don't really understand that the hillside used to look completely different. They don't understand sort of the remains of that building and how all of those things knit together. And I got very interested in this because we also wanted people to take steps to protect what they love. But if they don't know what they have, and if they don't know how the history is all interwoven together, then they won't take those steps. So we started thinking, back in the day, that was the Piedmont Environmental Council, and it had 8 employees, and I was one of them, and we decided to do as many rural historic districts as we could organize, as many scenic roads as we could get designated, as many ag and forestal districts as we could convince people to form, and also started working on some of the very first conservation easements in this area. Originally, there was going to be a district that was both in Orange and Albemarle County. It was going to be one really big district. And we really grappled with that and realized we were going to need to divide it in half. That's why you have the Southwest Mountains Rural Historic District and the separate Madison-Barbour Rural Historic District. And now there's the Southern Albemarle District. And I think you're going to tell us if this is not the case, Lena, but we may have the largest continuous rural historic district in the U.S., reaching from north here of town of Orange all the way down to the James River. So I really give a lot of credit to the people in this community, to our leadership here in the county, and all the folks have kind of made this a possibility. And just think about it. This has been going on since 1986. We do think we have a special opportunity with all of the visitors who come to Montpelier to get them excited, not just about James Madison and Dolly Madison and the 300 people who were enslaved who made Montpelier possible, but also to really be connected into this larger landscape area. We are very excited about projects such as Virginia Foothills, which is going to be kind of our new branding initiative in this area with our local partners like Willow Grove Inn and Graylin and Barbersville, and of course the town of Gordonsville and the town of Orange. There's so much potential, I think, here to make people fall in love, not just with the famous people, but all of the stories and the beautiful landscape that we have here in this Piedmont of Virginia. So with that, I'd like to welcome the Virginia Department of Historic Resources leader, Lena, and I look forward to you correcting all the things I said, as well as both Mark and Bill later on. So thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lena McDonald, and I am so happy to be here on behalf of the Department of Historic Resources. My colleague Jen Lukes runs the Highway Marker Program, and she just can't attend all of the dedications because that is a very busy program. My affiliation is that I am the National State Register historian, and so, for instance, the Madison-Barbour Rural Historic District is listed in the Virginia Landmarks Register and the National Register of Historic Places. So I have the distinct pleasure of having a hand in all of the nominations that come across Virginia's that get listed in the Landmarks Register now. I've been with the department for about 6 years, and I just love it. We also have here Ann Miller, who is a fantastic partner with the Virginia Department of Transportation. She is a walking encyclopedia of the significance of engineering resources, especially transportation here in Virginia. And so we're very lucky to have a good working relationship with VDOT. Also, we have our easement and tax credit programs. I know at least one person here has a property with an easement on it. And he doesn't want me to call him out, but Brad McDonald is here, and he works with the easement program at DHR. And then we have our tax credit program. And I have to say that in so many ways, Virginia is a leader when it comes to historic preservation and cultural resources. So, for instance, our tax credit program is one of the busiest in the country, and it has been that way for about 18 years straight, even during the Great Recession. We also have an amazing easement program with over 600 of Virginia properties that are held in perpetuity in a conservation easement, which means that owners will come and go, but the easement will remain to protect the property. The National Register program is one of the busiest in the country too, and I will follow up on what Kat said. The 50 square miles is a giant district, and that's not even the only one out this way, because there are the other two that you mentioned. And Virginia, which has been heavily occupied for well over 10,000 years and very intensively occupied, we have somehow got more rural historic districts covering more land than some of those states out west, like Minnesota and Montana and Wyoming and Texas, all those big sky country places, which I think is a real testament to how much history is here, but also how many people like you all are invested in helping to understand it, document it, and preserve it for the future generations. So Virginia is also happily one of the first historical roadside marker programs in the country. Ours started in 1927. As far as we know, that makes ours the oldest. And since then, we have put up more than 2,700 signs across the state. Highway Marker Program is the unique amongst all of DHR's programs because it's a visible way to inform and educate the public, so that we can link important stories about Virginia's past to the actual landscape, as Kat was talking about, where these events took place. In 1976, the states had to stop funding highway markers. There were many other priorities, unfortunately. And so now in most cases, we have private organizations such as historical societies, churches, alumni groups for schools, and other organizations for bringing forward new applications and also funding the manufacture of the markers. Every marker topic that is approved has to display a regional, statewide, or national significance. The information has to be thoroughly documented. The marker texts have to be approved by the Virginia Board of Historic Resources, whose members are appointed by the governor. And take all that together, and as Lynn mentioned, it's not a simple or easy process, but that's why when a new marker is approved and erected, it is a cause for celebration, because this is not a process that is for people who are looking for a quick gratification. Needless to say, our marker program would not exist without the participation of community-minded citizens. We would like to thank everyone who has been involved in this particular marker project. That would include Orange County Historical Society, which is the sponsor for both markers. Mr. Speeden, did I say that right? Bill Speeden. Lynn Lewis and Ann Miller, all of whom worked with DHR throughout the process. And of course, we want to thank VDOT, which graciously keeps track of all of the markers all over the state, is responsible for their maintenance, except in some of the localities that do their own maintenance. And they also even map them for us so that we know exactly where every one of them is. So we really appreciate the commitment and the enthusiasm for everyone who makes our marker program possible. And on behalf of the Commonwealth of Virginia, I am proud to say that we celebrate with you on this special day. So thank you.
Let me just keep this away. Bill?
Thank you, Nicole. Kat, good job. The application for recognition of the Madison-Barbour Historic District was completed in 1990. And anybody be interested in it, I have a copy of it right here. And there's more than 65 pages of historic justification towards making the district the largest contiguous district in Virginia. I believe I'm correct in crediting Ann Miller with a lion's share of work done on this extensive application, coupled with the leadership of PEC. Correction coming up.
Let me jump in there.
Please do.
I was basically the documentarian and part of the field crew, and the late Jeff Odell went out and did a lot of the mile-to-mile, house-to-house stuff as well. So it's great story.
Okay, both of you. Both of you. And reading through it, I see the fingerprints of Ann Miller. In my naivete, I assumed the historic highway markers would magically appear proclaiming the glories of this district. When nothing appeared in the early 2000s, I suggested the idea to Orange County Historic Society. Each time I made said suggestion, it was greeted with a hearty, good idea, but nothing materialized. 4 years ago, I volunteered to be on the board of directors with the idea of pursuing this project. With the support of John Graham, Ann Miller, Lynn Lewis, and others, I discovered the gauntlet which had to be run to achieve the goal of 2 markers for the district, one on Route 20 and one on Route 33. In 2016, we raised the funds necessary to cover the cost. In 2017, we worked with the Department of Historic Resources in Richmond, Montpelier, REDOT, cooperating to get this project accomplished. I thank the financial donors, the Orange County Historic Society Board of Directors, particularly Lynn Lewis, Ann Miller, Department of Historic Resources, Harry Estes of REDOT, Kat Emhoff of Montpelier, and Clara Colby for suggesting the Route 33 site, all playing a role in bringing this project to its fruition. Orange County is fortunate to have such a valuable historic heritage to help promote our role in history and tourist trade. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And finally, to cap it off, I would like to ask our Mark Johnson, our District 1 supervisor, if he would say a few words, since he lives right. You're in the Ehart area, is that correct? Yeah, the district actually does extend out to the Ehart area, so you probably live right amidst it. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Lynn. None of the credit for this belongs to me. I'm just a typical politician here to act like I did something.
Try to get some votes next time.
That's right. One of the great things about living in Orange County and in District 1 of Orange County in particular is that if you're interested in history, every time you turn around, you bump into it. And whether it's the Exchange Hotel in Gordonsville or Zachary Taylor's birthplace in Montebello or Montpelier, the Madison-Barbour Rural Historic District, it's all around you. And if you can't find some history every day, then you're just not trying. Anyone who has done any kind of historic research at all knows that sometimes you find a vital piece of information in a single paragraph in an obscure book that you haven't been able to find it anywhere else. There it is. And I think these highway markers, while they are great for tourists to be able to read and to remind the residents of where they live and the history, I think they're also markers in another sense. They are a marker to the future, 50 years or 100 years from now, when everyone who was involved in this district, in getting it put together, in getting these markers put up, is gone. Those markers will still be there to inform future generations. And I was doing a little reading about the markers online yesterday evening, and was pleased to see that Virginia was the first state to do this, as far as we know, and that it's been going on for over 90 years. And they are, I think, a vital part of preserving our history. History is great, but you've got to preserve it in a way that future generations can lay their hands on it and understand it. And so I'm extremely pleased at all the hard work. I thank the Historic Society and everyone who's been involved in this and who's been involved in it over the years. You've made Orange County and you've made District 1 a nicer place to live, and you've made it a nicer place to visit for those who are passing through and interested in history. So thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. As you can see, there were a great number of people involved in bringing these signs to fruition. Just in case you don't know, we'll call it the Gordonsville sign, is about a mile west of Gordonsville on Route 33, heading towards Barborsville. It's as you come that way, it's on the left-hand side. Talk about memories, Clara remembered there being a pullover there. And since it was a pullover, it seemed like it might be VDOT property. And indeed, it's one of those peculiar islands that get left behind when roads change and squiggle and wiggle. And it was still VDOT property. So it not only provided a nice parking place for people to pull over and read, which is a requirement these days, thank goodness. You know, there's many markers you go by and you read the first sentence, and days later you read the next sentence, and then 2 weeks later you have to read the first sentence again because you've forgotten. And this way you can actually pull over and read the signs. So we're very fortunate in both cases with the Montpelier location and the Gordonsville location to have good places to do it. It made it much more simple than having to apply to private property owners. So thank you very much, everyone. We have some refreshments. There is some coffee. We weren't going to make it out at Montpelier, but I thought since we were indoors, a little coffee on a damp day. By the way, I found out this morning, this has no relevance to anything except the nasty weather, that on the 24th of May, for the 23rd of May, where are we? 19th of May, for the last 30 years, it has rained 23 out of the 30 times on the 19th of May. So don't ever plan an outdoor wedding on the 19th of May. Thank you all for coming, and please stop and see one or both of the signs when you have a chance. Thank you.